everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the RPGwhat podcast. I'm your host, Trevor, aka Zimmy Games, and here with me today, as always, is Red Wolf. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm crying.
Yeah.
I was putting cologne on, like what I was saying before, and I sprayed it right in my eye. So if anyone's wondering why I'm crying, it's because I love the smell of Jovan Musk or whatever it was. Not to be confused with Elon Musk, his brother. But
I get that you needed the eye drops, right? Because you get, like dry eyes. I don't understand the cologne because no one can smell you right now other than
I
yourself.
think they can. Like if you watch enough TV and you're watching a celebrity long enough, like if you watch enough Christina Aguilera music videos, you're like, she smells like the inside of a wet car or something after a hot sunny day. Like she looks sticky, like if you touched her, that kind of thing. But hey, this is an RPG podcast, right?
So and I don't mean to be misleading to anyone. I just wanted the Mass Effect version of me and Red up on the screen. We're not actually going to be talking about Mass Effect today, but I just wanted it. I thought it would be really cool, and it is.
I love it.
Yeah. So very first topic is the next Elder Scrolls location. So it's been a while since we talked Elder Scrolls on this show. Unfortunately, there's not like a major news announcement or anything like that. But there has been many fans that have theorized where the next Elder Scrolls game is actually going to take place. So I just thought it would be a really fun idea on our show today to geek out about Elder Scrolls a little bit and just kind of put in our own personal guesses on where the next Elder Scrolls game is going to be. Most fans are actually theorizing that it's going to be in Hammerfell. And whenever we got the cinematic announcement kind of trailer for Elder Scrolls 6, as soon as I saw it, the first thing I thought of was Hammerfell as well, which for all of you guys watching, if you don't know, is the part of the Elder Scrolls like universe. It's the Providence and Tamriel that is basically the homeland of the Red Guards. So anyway, Red, what are your thoughts on this? Like, where do you think that we're going to be going in Elder Scrolls 6? Do you feel like it's going to be Hammerfell, or do you have your own unique opinions about this?
I always have unique opinions, which probably wouldn't match this type of show. But I mean, look, the thing is, I don't. When we got that trailer many years ago, and
2018, I think.
God, man,
I think.
That's so crazy, man. It's so sad, but it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. But I don't. From what I know about Hammerfell, okay, I'll just say my theory is that it's sort of the combination of the two for many different reasons. Hammerfell and High Rock, and I think everyone thought it was High Rock to begin with, just because of the cinematic trailer that we got. And they know we've talked about this before. Bethesda knows what they're doing. Their games market themselves, and they allow the fans to pick everything apart and start theorizing because they know. And they didn't just like have like a pre-rendered cutscene out of nowhere and just have it of just something. And they're like, whatever, we can figure it out later. Like, no, they know. They know what it is, and they know that the fans know. But the thing is they didn't really showcase in that cinematic trailer that there were two locations. It was one very specific, the geography there. Geography? Yeah. It wasn't Hammerfellish to me. It was it was much more like High Rock is described. Hammerfell. Now, listen, I'm not a lore god when it comes to this, but Hammerfell to me is much more sandy, isn't it? It's much more.
There's parts that are like really sandy. I mean, like predominantly a large section of Hammerfell is just a desert, right? But there are parts of Hammerfell that are not just purely desert, and like they have some grasslands and stuff like that. So like for instance, if you remember playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion, right? As you're traveling like west, like towards like Anvil and stuff, like the terrain kind of changes a little bit. Like Elder Scrolls Oblivion is really good at kind of showing off like the different, like all of the different environments that kind of are around Tamriel. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like certain parts of Hammerfell are grasslands where, you know, lions exist and so on and so forth, right?
Mm.
So the entire thing is not covered by just nothing but desert. And another thing to also remember as well is whenever we saw this trailer, as you know, like the camera was panning, we also saw an ocean, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
you know, this is a coastline area. It's probably not going to be just pure desert all over the place. Um, so I wouldn't necessarily rule out Hammerfell or necessarily include High Rock just based on, you know, based on that we saw blades of grass.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because in my now, somebody correct me. Anyone correct me.
I'll correct you.
I don't want to just keep me honest. High Rock, from what I have read in the in-game books and how it's been described in lore,
Yeah.
is very much like England, is it not? Because it is the home of isn't it the home of the Bretons? And the Bretons are the sort of the, you know, the hybrid of half elf, half human. But I thought that High Rock was always
Yeah.
described as like England, big plains, lots of rocks, lots of high rocks, trees, green, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So High Rock is like very lush, very green. And honestly, the best way of explaining what High Rock is like your stereotypical or stereotypical that's word, yeah, fantasy kind of like world, right, where you're expecting there are these chivalrous knights and you know it's almost kind of like King Arthur, you know, esque,
Right,
like an
right,
Arthurian kind of legend esque area, right? It's definitely the most traditional fantasy, or like traditional medieval European fantasy. Whereas, you know, Skyrim is more like Nordic Vikings, and Cyrodiil is more of like an imperial kind of Rome kind of thing. So I would actually say that the High Rock is almost like northern France culture. And a lot of Bretons actually have like a kind of like a French name, if you've ever noticed that. Um,
right. Yeah,
but
go ahead.
go no, oh, feel free.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, everything is thematic. Like everything in fantasy, especially, is thematic to something comparable, because that's just how it works. But or something comparable to real life, like cultures. You know, you have like the Khajiits, or well, I guess sorry, not Khajiit. Like the High Elves, they're sort of like the well, you know what? I'm not gonna touch that one, but you know what I mean. You fill in the blanks for different cultures out there. But you know, there are different cultures out there that have been sort of inspired, big inspirations for a lot of this stuff.
No,
Um,
I 100%, and that's one thing that I really, really, really love about the Elder Scrolls is in some ways it kind of like, you know, whenever they created this universe, right? It kind of borrowed from like modern day history, right? And cultures that we know, you know, here on planet Earth, right? Which is kind of similar to what like George R. R. Martin did with his Song of Ice and Fire series, you know, the Game of Thrones, as most people know it
yeah,
by, which I think is just super, super cool. And being a huge history nerd, it just like draws me in even more. But you know, I will say this as well. You know, High Rock may be included. I don't know if they would do that or not, just because they have previously made a game with High Rock being like the center point, that game being called Daggerfall. Um, but they've never really had a game just, well, out of their mainline Elder Scroll series, they've never had a game that just solely focused on Hammerfell, right?
right.
And I'm talking about like the mainline Elder Scrolls RPGs. But during Skyrim, they also referenced a lot to Hammerfell, right? They, you know, they went as far to say that, you know, Hammerfell is still fighting the Old Merry Dominion, right? You know,
Hmm.
as we're playing through Skyrim, you know, that's often being referred to and talked to a lot. There's a lot of quests that kind of like harken back to that idea that, you know, that Hammerfell is definitely still a thing, and that the Red Guards are still fighting against the High Elves. One of those quests is, in Elder Scrolls Skyrim, whenever you agree to find the Red Guard woman that's inside of the
Yep,
bar
she's
in
being chased.
Whiterun. Yeah, she's being chased by these guards from High Rock because she was a traitor and she sided with the Aldmeri Dominion or something along those lines, right? And so, because of all of those story connections that are so prevalent when playing through Skyrim, it's almost a 100% guarantee that this game is going to take place in Hammerfell. The only exception to that is, whenever you play ESO, if you have played ESO, Elsewhere, which is like the homeland of the Khajiit, that landscape looks very, very similar to like Khajiit, like architecture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The architecture doesn't look similar because like the architecture in like Elsewhere is like more like Arabian kind of like influence, right? Which
Right.
some of that is also prevalent in Hammerfell, but Hammerfell also does have like the more medieval looking kind of castles and stuff as well. But just geography wise, it does look like it could be Elsewhere as well. But my money is on Hammerfell.
This is an interesting. So if it's two different locations,
Okay.
even if it was one, even if so, the only not the only. What about like the naming convention with Elder Scrolls 6? Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, it wasn't called Elder Scrolls Cyrodiil.
Yeah.
It was called Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Do you think that they're going to go with a naming convention that sort of combines the two into whatever the main theme is? Because if you remember, to your point, with the elves, the high elves, who are the help me please, the ones
Aldmeri
walking
Dominion.
around. Is that what it is? The Aldmeri? Well,
The
no, hang on.
Aldmeri Dominion.
The faction of
Aldmeri
black
Dominion.
and gold. They're wearing black and gold hoods.
Yeah.
The
Well, those
Aldmeri
are the
Dominion.
Thalmor. Those are the Thalmor.
That's
So like
what
the Thalmor are like the secret police of
Yeah.
like the Aldmeri Dominion in a way.
Right. So remember, there was something to happen in like a few hundred years, like the prophesied war between the Thalmor and their rightful place. Because remember, this ties into God. We're going deep into lore. Like Hrothgar, or oh God, what's his name? The dude and the companions. Like Skyrim was actually home to the snow elves,
Grimoire or whatever.
Yeah, Ysgramor. And the Thalmor are like, no, Skyrim belongs to us. Still to this day, like we have, we want to like avenge our ancestors or whatever. And that's been, I'm sure you've seen this theory before, like that the Thalmor are going to have a huge, like they are going to be like the main villains of the next. So to your point, that could actually make sense, where the Red Guards and the Thalmor are, the Thalmor are a bigger faction against the Red Guards in this one. So naming convention. Let's just say that has to do with the Thalmor, and it's the Red Guards, and it's in Hammerfell. What kind of naming convention? I don't know. I'm asking too many questions, but
yeah. So obviously, like Elder Scrolls Arena, like they really didn't have a ton of ideas of like where this entire franchise was going, what it was leading to, or anything like that. So it was just called Elder Scrolls Arena, right? Elder Scrolls Daggerfall, which is like the next game, they actually named the game after a city rather than the actual like Providence, because I'm pretty sure the Providence is called High Rock, right? And then, of course, the third game, they went and they actually named the game off of the Providence, that being Morrowind. Then in Oblivion, they kind of stepped back from like geographical names and almost did just more of a theme kind of name and called it Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Which I guess technically you could actually make the argument that Oblivion actually is a geographic location because of like the Oblivion realms and so on and so forth, right?
Very good point.
So, and then, Skyrim, they kind of revert back to the whole idea of, hey, we're going to name this title after the actual Providence. So, you could technically make the argument that they've always named it off of some form of a geographic location, because arena is an arena, right? And then, of course, we've already explained all of the other ones, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, they could possibly I mean, I don't think Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell sounds like that bad. I mean, in some ways, like,
No,
it's
that
actually
sounds
really,
good.
yeah, it sounds really badass, right? Because a
Yeah.
hammer is falling,
Oh, yeah.
it elicits like the idea of like maybe violence or fighting, or I mean, even possibly a civil war, like a hammer falling,
Yes. Do you know the story
so
behind that?
what?
The lore behind the Hammerfell being called
I
Hammerfell?
don't know why it's called Hammerfell. No, I don't remember.
I'm gonna talk right out of my ass. Ready?
Okay.
It was when there was some dude who threw an
Yeah.
axe. This part of it is true. He threw an axe, and he says wherever it lands, that's where we're gonna make our home or whatever. And he threw it all the way across Nern or whatever, and it landed there. And they found the giant ass axe laying there. That's why it's called Hammerfell. No one's gonna. Somebody tell me in the comments, one of you, or in the chat. Yes, thank you. Night Eternal says it would be great if they include the lore story of Hammerfell. Wow, I literally did not look at that. Look at that. Hey, Night Eternal in chat, tell us the story in chat, just one by one, word by word, and we'll wait.
Well, we won't wait forever, but we will wait.
No, but correct me on that. I'm sure he knows, because since he brought it up. Am I wrong, Night Eternal? Tell me in the chat, because it's something to do with a dude throwing an axe across, or a hammer across the world.
So I'm
Anyway,
guessing
sorry.
what you're talking about, Red, is so like Tamriel actually was like completely populated by elves at one point, right?
Yeah.
And then the Red Guards came from some lands over in the west, some other continent over in the west, I believe. And then the Nords came from Altmora, I believe, from up in the north. And then there were, I don't know if these are humans or not, but there is another continent all the way towards the east, I believe, where like the Akaviri came from, which were like the dragon slayers and stuff like that, which I always kind of imagine them to be more of like a Japanese kind of culture. Because that's where the blades kind of got a lot of their armor and their swords and even their architecture. Like whenever you look at Cloud Temple north of Bruma in Cyrodiil, right? Like it looks like a Japanese castle.
It does, with the way that the top of the building and the
yeah. So that's Akaviri architecture and stuff, and then even their armor like looks more samurai-ish, and that's Akaviri kind of like armor and so on and so forth, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't see any problem in them just naming the game Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell. Like, I think that sounds badass, and that gets me in the mood to play it. But they could also name it off of, I guess, like possibly some city, that's in Hammerfell. It wouldn't be the first time they did it with Daggerfall, right? I think Hammerfell just really makes the most sense, though. I think it really does. Now, here's a really interesting idea, right? So we kind of already talked about how a big major theme of Elder Scrolls 6 is going to involve the Aldmeri Dominion, right? And so I'm going to take your idea of including two providences, but kind of switch it upside down. Rather than the game including Hammerfell and High Rock, what if the game included Hammerfell and the oh my god, it's killing me, Somerset Isles, like the homeland of the High Elves.
Of the High Elves, right?
Yeah.
Have you heard of the High Elves?
Then you could ride around on a ship. You could
and I've been saying that.
You have been saying that.
And they so my theory was that if High Rock and Hammerfell, or Hammerfell and Somerset Isle, it would make more sense. Somerset Isles would make sense for more ship sailing. And right now Bethesda is doing what they're doing with Starfield with ship. I know it's different, but it's just the fact of like vehicles in general and in the creation engine too. And I would love for that to be a thing. See, I never thought of Somerset Isle, but so okay.
Yeah.
Remember when? Sorry, real quick. This is bugging me because sorry. Night Eternal
Yeah,
says
you
it
go ahead
was
and read
from
it
the
off.
Dwemer. Yeah, he says it was from the Dwemer and the Hammer Volendrung. But like you said, it was thrown, and that is where it landed in Hammerfell. So yeah, the Dwemer. He threw it, and it landed. Boom, Hammerfell. Thank you, Night Eternal. Night Eternal. I appreciate I feel validated. You kept me honest. I told you I wasn't going to go all in like I knew, but I knew something. So yeah,
You knew
so
more than
Somerset
me,
Isle.
at least about that.
Yeah, I was like, because it's such a cool. I love the lore. Like just listening to. Shout out
Well,
to Nate, Epic Nate, friend of the show. Yeah, I'm
one of my
kidding.
favorite things is just learning about the Dwemer and just uncovering like more secrets about, that civilization as every
Yeah.
single game progresses. And Hammerfell is a huge hotspot for Dwemer. Underground cities and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So yeah, I expect to see a lot more uncovering of like the Dwemer kind of lore in Hammerfell, which really excites me. But you were talking
Yes.
about sailing,
Yes.
I'm sailing away.
Sail. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, both of those are good. The good songs. I think I don't know. What were you saying? Like a 40 song? What was that?
I don't, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even remember who makes it. But
Hmm.
I'm thinking it's like 70s, 80s.
Okay. It's not
Yeah.
the next theme song for Elder Scrolls or
No, it's not. No.
oh
But,
oh
I
um
mean, the inclusion of both of those providences, which would be really cool. Plus, the Somerset Isles isn't huge. Like Hammerfell is significantly bigger than the Somerset Isles. So, I mean, that could theoretically kind of be done, I would imagine.
yeah, and you could use I mean because you can use like the Somerset Isles like it because if you're sailing from one to one continent to another, it's like what's there going to be in between? You would have to sort of take liberties with lore if there's not too
Well,
many islands in between to
there's a
begin with.
few islands just kind of like dabbled in between um like mainland Hammerfell and the Somerset Isles.
Right. So I guess what I
And
mean
there's
is like,
there's a couple of
and
small islands around like within the Somerset Isles as well, but it's mostly just
right,
two main islands.
yeah, exactly. And I think that might be good for them. Like if you think about if you look at the giant map of Tamriel, you can see like there's like the big dip, and in between that they could really like from our bird's eye view of the map, but like when you look at any map in general from like super fucking high up in the air, uh, that area you can't really look at that and say, "Yep, that looks about 3/4 of a mile down south." You turn because according to this building down here, it's got to be this. No, that could be huge. That could be like when you do sail. There's like a very large region that then they could take liberties of smaller islands and which would it would just have to be a big ass ocean. Is all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say to merit the use of actual ships. Unless you're playing
Yeah,
like
I don't
Valheim, I'm playing a lot of
I
Valheim.
mean,
It could be like
you
little boats,
know,
you know.
if you think, right, of proportionally like what does Skyrim look like, right? Skyrim is a pretty decent sized map, right? But
Yeah.
it really does not take you a tremendous amount of time to like go from one corner of the map to like the other corner of the map. You know what I mean? Probably, you know 30 minutes, but you're straight up like running and walking that distance, right?
Yeah.
I would say that that's probably going to be about the distance between mainland Hammerfell and the Somerset Isles, but the difference would be you would be on a ship, right?
Right.
So you would be going significantly faster. So I don't think that there's going to be a massive ocean. I think it's going to be sizable. I think that they would, if this was the direction that they took, I think that there would be, a lot of things to do, right? But I don't necessarily think that, it would be as large of a world as like let's say, or as large of an ocean as like let's say like Assassin's Creed Black Flag had.
Yeah, or like Valhalla, even with like its narrow rivers in England, having like a longship or something like that, or like
Mhm.
Valheim, which again, another Nordic game, which is having like a smaller boat that you could travel around. It would still be cool, but it's creation engine, man. Like I don't know how like the water physics and everything's gonna work on that. Like it's a totally different cell. Like I've talked
Yeah.
to a developer and she says that the water itself isn't. It's like another platform that changes your animation. It's not an actual like where other games, it's like a tangible thing that has its own animations when you interact with it. In Skyrim, it's like an actual animation on top of like a new area that changes. I don't know. She's the developer. I don't know, but
Got you.
yeah. So boats, but yeah. So where is it going to take place? Hammerfell. Now that I know it's
Hammerfell.
not just
Yeah.
sand, I just feel like sand is going to put everybody. I mean, it's coarse and it's rough and it gets everywhere. You know,
Star Wars references now.
dude.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much safe to say Elder Scrolls 6 is very, 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 very likely going to be taking place in Hammerfell. And the name of the game is probably going to be Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell. And, you know, maybe they include a second Providence, maybe they don't, but I think it's safe to say that we will be spending most of our time in Hammerfell.
Yeah, I think. And we're going to be, Volendrung's going to be in the game. Name dropped by Night Eternal in the chat. So Volendrung, it's got to be a thing.
Yeah, and by the way, that song that I did a fantastic rendition of is from Styx. So Styx,
I see that.
Yeah, they made that song. It's a good song. You guys should check it out sometime.
I love it. It's
All
also
right,
a
topic
good
number
game.
2. Topic number 2. So from a story published on PCGamesN.com, the creator of Fallout and the director of The Outer Worlds, Tim Kaine, has recently opened up about his feelings towards Bethesda and what they've done with the Fallout series. And in short, he loves it. Going as far to say that Bethesda has revitalized the Fallout franchise. Tim mentioned that he has not played the Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, Fallout 76, and also not very much of Fallout Tactics, but he has played a ton of Fallout 3, 4, and New Vegas, and he absolutely loves them all. He also mentioned that he's actually currently replaying Fallout 4 right now, and he's doing a charisma build, and that he's looking forward to the next game, which would be Fallout 5 whenever it happens. Tim also mentions his love for the modding community for like Bethesda and how Fallout modders come up with some of the best ideas in the world. And he also mentions that one of his hopes for Fallout 5 is that Bethesda pays attention to and folds in some of the ideas that these modders, have been creating over the years and incorporating some of those ideas into Fallout 5. So, Red, whenever I sent you this article a couple of days ago, and I hope that you got a chance to read it. What are your thoughts on Tim Kaine? Just first off, and then second off, like what do you think about his ideas of incorporating Fallout 4, just Bethesda modders ideas, just kind of in general, into the next Fallout game?
I mean, I know who he is. I thought that Brian Fargo, who was the founder of Interplay and the head of the company when Fallout and all that stuff came out, I thought that he was the one. So this was actually news to me to see that the actual creator of the game was coming out and saying, "Hey," because I think Brian Fargo was the one that at a time was a little bit not like upset, but he was sort of like whatever when they sold the rights to Bethesda for Fallout. Tim Kaine is a new face for me, which I feel like I'm betraying everyone. But I think this is really good whenever we see the creatives. Like, I can't imagine. I mean, this happens all the time. Like, IPs get passed around like unadopted children or whatever. Makes sense. Like, hey, like I loved him once and now you can have him because I need money, kind of thing. Isn't that how children adoption works? I don't know. But let us know in the comments below how that works. But yeah, I thought it was really cool to see like he really has like a lot of faith in the modding community and a lot of faith in what and just loves what the IP has become in general. Because it was such a huge like I can't think. Okay, so like for example, Wasteland is all the Interplay had, or sorry, In Exile had after Fallout was gone. So then they just went ahead and did their own version of the post-apocalyptic world. But Fallout back in like the early late 90s. That was like the post-apocalyptic game. It was top down. It was very different for anyone who didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. You're talking
Bethesda
about
bought
Fallout
it.
1 and 2, right?
Yeah, Fallout 1, 2, and then Tactics. All
Tactics
those
as well.
were all top down, turn based. They were just totally, completely, utterly different. And Fallout 3, it was the huge like we're gonna take the creation engine and do what we did with Oblivion and do this again. And the fact that someone who created that can come back and say, "Oh, I love it. I love that." Like it makes you wonder, like, did they never have any aspirations to take it any further, and that's why they thought like we want to do other things now. We've had our time with it. Take it away, do what you want with it. We have faith, except for Brian Fargo. I'm just kidding. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a couple of different things. I mean, one of the things is, we have to remember that back in the day, video game, development and so on and so forth, I mean, the like Obsidian, for instance, right? Has kind of fell into the pitfall of wanting to create games, but also, hey, we're a business and we need to make money. And sometimes the games that you make just don't work out. Sometimes you get the rough end of the deal. For instance, whenever Obsidian made Fallout New Vegas, they failed to reach a specific sales target. And so they actually lost out on a lot of money from Bethesda Game Studios at the time. And so I would say a lot of it probably really boils down to, hey, we just don't have the funding to make this. Maybe we can't find a publisher. Why not just sell off this IP? Because we don't currently have any plans for it. And we also already have, the Wasteland IP, which is, almost identical to Fallout, or at least from like just the main themes and tone, and even, point of view and a perspective of the game and so on and so forth. So, one thing I will say is that, Bethesda could have taken this Fallout game, they could have taken the Fallout IP and just did whatever they wanted with it. Right. But at the end of the day, they paid homage to this game, to what it initially was, right? They kept close to the lore of the world, to the factions of the world, to like kind of even the rules of the world, right? And what they ultimately just did was they took Fallout 1, Fallout 2, right? And it was almost like the developers that made that game just decided to make it, third person, first person, Bethesda style.
Right.
And I think that helps
more
a lot
accessible.
here. Is that they paid homage to it, right? They cared about it. You could tell that the people that made Fallout 3 are people that have previously played that role-playing game and absolutely loved it and fell in love with it and wanted to continue it on to the next generation of gamers.
That's literally what I was about to say, is like you could tell that they loved it so much. Like, because like for example, like you and I, people that we talk to, anyone can say like, oh man, I love this, whatever, this movie, this game, this anything, this board game. Can you imagine if I were to make a game, I would do this? And it's only because they feel so passionate about it, not because they think they're better than anyone, but it's because they love it so much that they want to do their own spin on it. And on top of that, what Bethesda did is they presented it to a modern audience, because I have talked to a ton of people that know what XCOM is, for example, and just because the lore is cool and the setting is cool and the graphics are pretty, and there's like, there's so much in those kind of games. As soon as you say turn based, they're just out. It's just not. It's just not for them in the top down perspective. And so even Morrowind was way we talked about this, way ahead of its time back then.
It was,
and they just made it work, and they tried to keep the old school RPG elements in it, like with skill checks and agility, the agility ability, or the agility stat,
the agility ability,
the agility ability. Yeah, and that was just something that I get, bless you. And sorry, there's my girlfriend sneezing, and
I got
how
you.
rude. No, I'm kidding. No, but yeah, so it's like you said, they put all the love into it. They brought it to a modern audience, and now it is what it is today. And now people are retroactively going back and playing these games. And like, where can I get it? Is it not on Xbox? No, it's not. but it is on PC, and not a lot of people. I mean, the thing is, like, if you were older, you only played on PC back in the day because you're an elitist. I'm kidding, but yeah. So this kind of stuff, I love this kind of stuff where they weren't necessarily Tim Kaine, Brian Fargo. They weren't necessarily tired of it. They just had their time with it and just said, I never would have thought of that. I've always said, like, you can have 1,000 ideas and be 100 years old and never have the same idea as someone else just because you have a different perspective. And I think that's exactly what benefited Bethesda with the Fallout franchise. So I love this. I love this guy.
Yeah, no, I love him too. And he's just so positive. It's like you could just like read the words out of that article, each of his quotes, and it's just filled with passion and positivity. And you could just tell that this is a man who is a gamer, who makes games, and he's just loving life. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's just loving it, right? He's just in his own little nirvana, if you will.
Right. You don't think he walked out of the interview room and was like screamed into a pillow afterwards?
You never know, but I don't think he was. No, I think he was walking out of that interview room. He had a big old smile on his face, and he was about to go play Fallout and, drink a Coca-Cola.
He gets in his car and bangs his head on the steering wheel. Yeah. No, seriously though. That's
one thing that you did mention though, and you know what? I'm usually wrong about my theories. Let me lead with that because I feel like that's really important to mention for full transparency. I'm usually really wrong with my theories, but I do have a theory that in Exile, the people that make the Wasteland games for Xbox now, I feel like they are going to be working on a Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 remaster to bring it to consoles. Because like what you were saying, a lot of people never got to play those games. A lot of people never got the opportunity to play those games. Those games are also really kind of old now, graphically speaking. And, let's be honest, who owns Fallout right now, right? Xbox does. Can you play the very first Fallout game and the very second Fallout game on console? You can't. That's a problem, right? And, we're also looking at Elder Scrolls 6 isn't going to come out until probably after I have my third child at this point. You know what I mean?
You don't even have any kids.
I don't even have any kids. That's right. So it's going to be a while, right?
Very good at it.
Realistically, we're looking at 2025, 2026, probably. I mean, and that's if we're lucky, right? So then, just tack on another, 3 to 5 years after that, and then we'll probably get a Fallout 5, right? So there's a long gap of time there. It needs to be filled. I think in Exile making a Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 remake would be incredible, and it would give the opportunity to all of these players to go back and be able to actually play those games,
Right.
Secure the legacy of Fallout.
Right. Look at this. Look at this. My son has entered the chat. Assassin, stop. He says, we will see all of Tamriel in Starfield. Do we even need an Elder Scrolls game anymore? Smirk face. Shut the fuck up, Assassin. You're probably right. But I don't want to think like that. I don't like that. No, I think I've said we're gonna see Elder Scrolls is in the future, actually, and technically. This has been confirmed by someone at Bethesda a long time ago, before we ever even saw Starfield. Don't quote me on that. Is Zelda a JRPG? What, Mac? Why are my panelists in here? Get out of here. You're fucking everything up. I'm just kidding. Don't leave. No. Okay, I'm sorry. We're getting off topic. Stop this. Go ahead.
No, we are.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, Tim Kaine, fantastic dude. And you know what? You know what I hope happens for him? And I really hope this happens for him, right? Because he is, he was the director for The Outer Worlds, right? I don't know what he's doing at Obsidian right now. Maybe he's the director of Outer Worlds too, for all I know. Whenever he gets done doing whatever he's doing, give that man the Fallout New Vegas franchise. Let him lead that. Let this man loves Fallout, right? And he's the creator of it. Give this man the opportunity to make Fallout New Vegas too. Because we all want it.
So Tim Kaine,
our hero.
He is part of Outer Worlds. Obsidian. That's not him. He's still part of In Exile, correct?
No,
Tim Kaine?
the last thing that he's credited for is being Wikipedia, which is the most accurate research tool on the internet, said that
Yeah.
and the article also mentioned that he was the director for the Outer Worlds, the very first game, Outer Worlds.
Okay, then yes,
So
we're
he works
totally on
at
the same page.
Obsidian. So he works at
And back
Obsidian.
to your back to your point, Fallout remaster, that would be amazing to bring to the modern audience, and it sort of kind of, I don't say like it belongs there, like it's the only place that it belongs. It's just that now with the Bethesda Xbox merger and all that, these IP should be brought there. Look, Morrowind got brought. Morrowind got like a digital HD port to Xbox, so you can buy it. Well, it's on Game
Yeah.
Pass, but you know what I mean. Like they didn't just say
Well,
now if you have a disc you can play it. They did that with a ton of their original IP.
well, and you also think about World's Edge, right? They brought Age of Empire to the
That's
console.
20-year-old game. It's insane,
Exactly.
dude.
It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's
the same
exact
thing,
same thing.
right?
That's a really good
Okay.
point. That's a really good point. Bring it to Game Pass. I would love that. I would love that. Chat, let us know if you want old school Fallout. Assassin wasn't even born then, which is great. But I was there. I was there for his birth. But yeah, that would be really great. And so yes, so everyone's been screaming about this Obsidian making the next Fallout game. And Assassin says, let him do Fallout New Angeles. That's a weird word. I don't like saying
Yeah.
Angeles without loss in front of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. Yes, I know what you mean, Assassin. Yeah, I would love that. I would love for them to make just the next, because we can get the Gears collection has been rumored for a very long time. Phil Spencer just talked about a collections plural coming out and being announced. I'm thinking Gears and I'm thinking the Fallout games. So you got the Fallout original collection, which would be New Vegas and 3 remastered. Everyone's been screaming about it for so long now to come. And then they could also announce that, what if they because that's the thing, if they were like shadow drop something like that, oh my god, I know everybody wants everything shadow drop now, but that would be amazing.
I don't.
And then,
I want to know ahead of time so I can pre-download it and
right,
make sure my schedule's right to play it.
Fallout 1 and 2 is going to be like 500 megabytes or something. No, not really. Those games actually a pretty hefty download still to this day. But I all I'm saying is that I agree with you. Obsidian should be taking over the Fallout franchise right now with everything that BGS Studios, Bethesda Game Studios is dealing with, Starfield and Elder Scrolls. No, you need to hand over the Fallout responsibility to Obsidian. They've done it before. Look what they did with Outer Worlds.
You just pass it over to them for a game, and then whenever Elder Scrolls is out and you're ready to start working on Fallout 5, then you work on Fallout 5, right? But Tim Kaine, that man is hungry. He loves that Fallout. Give that man an opportunity. Yes. All right. So third topic and final topic, we're going to be talking about the Starfield ESRB rating news.
Yes, Starfield.
This isn't necessarily like massive news, because anyone that's played Fallout, anyone that's played Elder Scrolls kind of expects that we're going to see something similar in tone for Starfield, right? But with that being said, we now know that Starfield is receiving an ESRB rating for M for mature. But the really interesting part is the little tidbits that are hidden underneath this information, such as basically us learning that the player can have sex in the game. The sex is not going to be shown on screen. It's probably going to fade to black and then it's going to come back, kind of like how they've done it in other games and how a lot of games do it as well. But one thing, and this is really, really tasty, this is really juicy, is that they shared a couple of different examples of what some of the dialogue might look like after these sex scenes have occurred. And I'm now going to read them off because I just can't help myself.
Are you going to do an impression? Are you going to do like a
I'm
character?
I'm not. Okay. I couldn't. Okay. Yeah, if I did, if you want to, you have them, right? You have them on your screen. Pull them up, do Stewie. I don't care.
Let me do here. I want to do one that is so you well, see, I Hang on. Let's see.
Do them all. I really don't care. Yeah, go for it. Do it in the Stewie impression. That'd be hysterical.
Is it in? Okay. They are. Oh, they are. They're all of them are there.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's 3 of them.
So some of the examples given to us by the ESRB were as follows. Okay. Life is a sexually transmitted disease that's 100% fatal. God, science, am I right? And then there's another one that says, talk about seeing stars. That was amazing. And my personal favorite. Oh, wait. Is that part of the thing? They said
that's
that too.
No, that's just that. Yeah, that's just the script.
I'm all for getting a little wild, but next time let's try without the jetpacks. Rupert. There you go.
That's my favorite one. Like the whole jetpack one.
That is my favorite one. Is next time let's try. I just imagine like trying to have sex. Just spinning around in space, flipping around jetpacks. Fluid. Whatever.
Well,
it's
so it's
science.
Confirmed. Off-screen jetpack sex is confirmed for Starfield, right. Which is really
Can you imagine
exciting.
the audio for that? So you're not going to see the sex. You're just going to hear it.
Oh my
black
God.
screen. You just hear.
Yeah.
And just like there's not. You have no.
I love this game. This is already my game of the year.
Game of the year. I was just about to say.
I haven't even played it, but it has jetpack sex. So
jetpack sex.
Yep. What more do you need?
Man. My girlfriend in the other room is like, "What the fuck is that?"
She probably is. Some additional things.
Well, she can't hear you. She can hear me. That's what makes me sound like a psychopath.
That doesn't make it better. Yeah, that
it makes it a lot worse. Go ahead. Sorry.
Worse. Yeah. So some additional things that were also talked about is an on-screen distortion effect that happens whenever your player does drugs. So you're going to be able to, do drugs. So if you want to role play as a junkie, it looks like that's going to be an option. Words like fucking bullshit will also be in the game. And this game will also include in-game purchases, which is not a surprise at all, right? Because this is a Bethesda game. They're going to have the creation club for, community-made mods. They're going to have DLC. There's going to, of course, be, horse armor, whenever you're riding around on planets on the back of your pony,
Yes, exactly.
So, that's really not a shocker there. And most of this, really, the only thing that was like really two things that I think we're really kind of on the fences. Where we going to get, where we not going to get, was sexy time and the drugs.
Yeah.
Right. We knew that there were going to be curse words in the game. We also knew that creation club mods and in-game purchases was going to be a thing. Right. Let's be realistic about that. But
yeah,
it's still exciting to see.
Yeah, the one thing that I loved was your player character working in a lab creating Aurora, so basically space LSD, which I'm gonna say LSD if you didn't know. No, Aurora is the like the cocaine of the space Starfield. Yeah. I don't know, whatever the most popular drug is. I don't know.
It was cool because you can actually work in a drug lab.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So if you want to role play as like, I guess, just like a cartel drug dealer, you know what I mean? Yeah, I guess that's a thing in the game, right? You could role play as oh my God, I can't even remember. I'm trying to think of his name.
Breaking
Pablo
Bad
Escobar. Pablo Escobar.
Oh,
you can role play. We're thinking about different things. Yeah. You can role play as Pablo Escobar, or you can be a junkie. So really, Starfield is a game that allows you to really play whoever you want to play.
Right. Read Assassin's chat there.
Pretty sure the jetpack comment is just a metaphor. Who wants to rail someone at high speed?
Light speed.
Light speed as she smeared across the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, can you answer that?
I'll just say this, different strokes for different folks,
Literally. Yeah. I love that.
Where do they have room inside of that spaceship to be messing around with jetpacks? That's my
Yeah,
question.
you're gonna be
Well,
like
maybe the cargo bay.
like this, like square. You're gonna be like ping, 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 like bouncing around the inside, jetpacks on, lights, emergency lights flashing and everything, and alarms going off, people screaming. Your crew is like, "What's the meaning of this, Captain?" And you're like, "It's for science," and you're just going around. Sorry. So yeah, drugs.
The tragedy is that we're not actually going to get to see it. We might be able to hear it, and we're going to hear people talking about the after effects, but we don't actually get to see it, and that is a tragedy. Let me just tell you. But anyway, we were talking about drugs, as you were saying. What about drugs?
So Jonah says, I'll be on fish drugs all the time, rich in hallucinogenic and omega. Nice. Is omega a Mass Effect reference? Please tell me. Or is that like another drug that I don't
think it is. I think he meant omega-3, like the nutrient.
Oh, that. Cool. Yeah. So back to drugs. How many times are we allowed to say drugs on YouTube before you're get a strike?
I don't know. I'm just testing it really at this point.
If my channel isn't already struck, I think we're fine. But so
I will say this: whenever we started talking about sex and drugs, and we started doing curse words, the view count went up for this show.
That's very true. We've literally gained 3 people since we started talking about sex and drugs on this RPG podcast. Welcome everyone. Subscribe, hit the like button. It comes from fish, he says. Oh, omega-3.
It does. Yes, it does.
Good. Yeah. So what I was wondering, like smuggling, how does that work? So I do wonder about like the cargo in Starfield. Like, are we going to be able to actually, is there like an inventory space where we walk up to a wall panel and it has a certain amount of inventory that is specifically made for cargo? So instead of like having Vasco come with you to forklift a giant crate and lay it visibly inside your cargo bay, smuggling, that's got to be a thing, man. Like that's got to be a thing. Like you'd be able to like pick up a thing. It would look like a little box with like the number 20 or 50 or 100 on it, and you would, you know what I mean, to represent how much of the thing that you have. Yeah. What do you think about that? Smuggling
I don't think that you're going to necessarily be loading cargo into your vessel. I think that you're probably going to go to some terminal on a spaceship, or on like a space station or on a planet, and then you just buy the goods and it just automatically goes to your ship. I would say that's probably what's going to happen, kind of like how Elite Dangerous does it. I don't think that you're going to manually be loading cargo on your ship, but I mean, what do I know, right? I don't work at Bethesda. I don't know these things. No. Well, but I do think that you 100% are going to be allowed to like smuggle illegal drugs and weapons and God only knows what other things. You're probably definitely going to be able to smuggle. That's probably going to be a way that you gain money. If I'm not mistaken, didn't the developers at one point say that this is kind of like a Han Solo simulator?
Yeah, they
and Han Solo was a smuggler. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there would be no way, especially because they also talked about joining with certain factions, but not being fully in. You still have the ability to come back. Other factions know what you've done, and you can choose to say, "I'm actually out. Those guys are cool," or you can be like, "Those actually suck, and I'm cool with you." But here's what they've been saying, like the spy simulator part of it. So all the avenues there are really interesting, but the smuggling part, there's drugs, there's weapons. I mean, it's space. I just feel like for as long as this game has been in development, these space, the sci-fi movie tropes, the space opera tropes, everything that we love about Star Wars and everything else, blah blah blah. You can go on and on. They know about these, and matter of fact, it's been said before. There is nothing space-wise that has not inspired Starfield, so they're very aware of it. It's got to be
like no space show or hardly any space show or space. There's not hardly any space show, space movie, or I guess possibly even book that has not influenced Starfield. At least
in some way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So drugs. Yeah, and Jenna says sex, drugs, and rocket ships. My new band.
That would be an awesome podcast name for like a Starfield centric podcast.
That would be great.
And rocket ships, right?
I'm gonna hit up the Lorefield podcast and let them know. Change your name now to Sex, Drugs, and Rocket Ships.
Yeah, it will increase your views by at least 30%.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So here's the real question though. are you going to role play as like a junkie or like an Al Pacino Casanova junkie?
Me?
Yeah.
Do you think no, I mean, well, let's say that I was. What would that mean? Like you're stealing drugs from everyone and just like killing everyone stealing drugs, and everyone's like, there's this meth head, this space meth head on the loose, stealing all of our drugs, doing them, and then killing us all. That'd be terrifying and amazing to play as. But no, I would be the guy to sell it, smuggle it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking about making like an Al Pacino Casanova drug junkie character. I'm thinking about it
Really?
now. I really
Okay.
am. I just feel like that would be like a great combo,
A melee build only, so you're just going in there.
No,
gun.
chainsaw. I said Al Pacino,
Right,
so
right.
like Scarface, like chainsaw.
Oh, got you,
like
Tommy Vercetti. Yep, I got you. Yeah. Okay, nice. I love that.
Hopefully, there's a chainsaw in the game. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we're really running off the rails right here. So let's go ahead and end the show. This has been an absolutely fantastic show. We got to talk about we got to talk about the trifecta, the Bethesda trifecta. We talked Elder Scrolls, we talked Fallout, and then we ended with Starfield. What more could you guys want, really? Plus the sex, drugs, and rocket ships, What more could you want? Anyway, Red Wolf, where can we find you?
You can find me at Red Wolf Renegade on Twitter and on YouTube. That's just Red Wolf Renegade, the only Red Wolf Renegade on Twitter and on YouTube. And I have a podcast every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live right then and there. You can check us out on the chat. And that was the most energetic I've ever gave my handle out ever. Look how red my face just got. Look how Red Wolf my face just became.
It was. Were you reading off a script?
No, I wasn't. I was looking around my room trying to pretend that I had notes everywhere, but I didn't. I was just trying to not lose my cadence, which is pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah. Red Wolf Renegade, Twitter and YouTube. Thank you.
And you guys can find links to both of those underneath in the description below. You guys can follow me at Zimmy Games on Twitter. And then, of course, you're already on the YouTube channel. So if you guys like today's show, make sure to hit that like button and, of course, subscribe so you never miss out on any of the latest Western RPG news. And we will be live next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next episode of the RPGwhat podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.